SCW Rewind returns with Worlds Collide 2020. Welcome to the show, everybody. Myself, Steve, and NXT Steve are in a hot seat, and we're going to be going over this classic show from 2020, where NXT took on NXT UK. And just to go through the match card that we will be discussing here today, we've got Finn Balor versus Ilja Dragunov. For the NXT Cruiserweight Championship, we've got a fatal four-way: Angel Garza versus Isaiah Swerve Scott, Travis Banks, and Jordan Devlin. We've got the dream match of DIY versus Moustache Mountain. For the NXT Women's Championship, we have Rhea Ripley versus Toni Storm. And in the main event, we have got faction versus faction, Undisputed Era versus Imperium. Welcome to the video, NXT. Hope you're doing well. And what's your overall thoughts of Worlds Collide 2020?
Dude, this is one of top 3 NXT's best pay-per-views in the black and gold era, maybe even ever. Like, this is such a good pay-per-view, and dude, it's got one of my favorite, if not my most favorite tag team match of all time on the card, and even just the rest of it as well. The show doesn't disappoint from any aspect. I only have 2 issues. One of them I'll talk about when we get to the match. The other one, I'll wait until the end of the show because I think it will reflect better once we finish reviewing it.
Sounds interesting. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing what your nitpicks of the show are. I don't have many either when I go to look at this show back either, so it's going to be fun to see what we do have to say. But let's go into some details for everybody then. Obviously, this show took place on January the 25th, 2020, so this is on Royal Rumble weekend, the night before the Royal Rumble. The city hosting was Houston, Texas, and the venue was the Toyota Arena. On commentary was Tom Phillips and Nigel McGuinness. Were you a fan of the commentary duo?
Yes, I mean, I did look before and I was like, hopefully it was more Ronaldo, but it wasn't. So unfortunately, no Mamma Mia's, but we do get a spot later on where the crowd are chanting Mamma Mia, and I'm like, I miss that from NXT. It's something that we need to bring back desperately. But otherwise, no, dude, it's a solid commentary team. Nigel McGuinness is great on colour, and Tom Phillips, yeah, I've got no problems with him at all as a play-by-play commentator.
Yeah, they're fantastic as a duo, and I'm glad to hear that you got your ABBA fix during the night at some point. But yeah, it's these two are brilliant, and I do love Nigel McGuinness as well. I think he does excellent work today in AEW, and obviously still was doing great stuff even back then on Worlds Collide. Particularly loving the banter as well of talking about what football is, not soccer. It's football. But we had a video package to kick off the show as well. But just before we do, let's just quickly mention there was a dark match on this as well. May have been on the kickoff for this show, but it was Kaylee Ray defeating Mia Yim in a match in about 9 minutes. And Tom Phillips did say that she won with a roll-up. So there you go, all summed up nice and quickly for you. And Dave Meltzer did rate it a 3-star rating. But this is not on the main show. We have not watched it. Therefore, we will not be reviewing it. But the video package, I'd like to know your thoughts on it. We had some quotes from Winston Churchill, which for me felt like it was probably from the Second World War. It's like, we shall fight everywhere and never surrender. And we kind of got a hype package of all the matches that will be on this show.
Yeah, very strange, because like, I get that it's obviously meant to be kind of like UK versus NXT, like America, and I was like, the quote obviously is from fighting in the war, and it was like, I get it, but it was kind of like, I think you could have found maybe something that was a bit more, I don't know, like just something a bit more that was a bit more appropriate to USA versus US, USA versus UK. Do you know what I mean? But otherwise, that's fine, man. It's not their best video package, but it's like, I don't think I think the thing with Worlds Collide is like no one ever has any hype for it, because it's just essentially like, it's essentially NXT's version of Survivor Series, brand versus brand, and there's no real build. The only real build for this, I think, is only in, well, like, to be fair, it's in a few of the matches, but there's no, like, because obviously it's NXT, and at that time, like, they're still trying to make NXT a big deal. So I always just felt Worlds Collide was never pushed as big as it could have been.
Yeah, it's kind of like WWE's version of like the World Cup, isn't it? Or dare I say, going outside of WWE walls, it's kind of like their forbidden door, if you will. Like, you know, having the going against each other. These dream matches you thought you'd never see. And I mean, to be fair, I mean, a lot of these matches do feel like dream matches on paper. And obviously diving into what would be the first one on the show would be Finn Balor versus Ilja Dragunov, which, to be fair, was a strong, hot opener. I mean, the striking between these two was pretty fierce, to say the very least. I mean, obviously, I love the striking from it. And I thought Ilja as well did well with his, offense as well, where he was trying to be high-flying in places where he could. He actually did the coast-to-coast at one point, which seemed to open up Balor's nose, went straight into it. But he did miss with a senton from the top rope. Went high once too often, was counter going to Finn Balor's knees, and that what led to Finn Balor first doing the coup de grace, and of course as well then hitting the 1916 for the victory. Your thoughts with the opening match?
Very strange initially, because I was very surprised at the amount of offense that Dragunov got, like for the story they're trying to tell at the time, because this is obviously in the midst of Balor's return to NXT, and he's on the verge of facing Johnny Gargano, I believe, at the next pay-per-view. And like I said, having Dragunov, who comes into a mild reception because obviously he's not really well known over the stateside at this point. Obviously Balor coming out to his classic entrance music is just phenomenal. Missed that so much. But yeah, like I said, just very surprised by, like I said, just the general amount of offense. Like, it was a great display for Dragunov, but it was almost like a weird booking thing for Balor. Like, obviously Balor gets the win in the end, which again makes sense for the story they're trying to tell on NXT. Like, just very shocked at like Dragunov getting such a good display. But dude, I appreciate it, man. I thought it was a solid opening match.
It was a very hard-hitting match, and I appreciate it as well. And I think that they were trying their best to sort of like get Ilja Dragunov to be more exposed to obviously the NXT side of the audience. Obviously, they've had him against Cesaro, I believe it was, on the show that was before that for the NXT UK brand. I want to say it was Cardiff was their last one. Maybe it was Blackpool too. I'm not sure 100% which one it was, but Dragunov did have a match like that before previously. But then obviously now to have Finn Balor here as well, it was like, it's good to see that they obviously I'm trying to push him to the next level. But yeah, like you say, fans were not so familiar with Ilja, so he wasn't really getting a warm reception. Balor, even though despite being the heel, was the one most over with the crowd. But at the time, obviously, they were building to Finn Balor versus Johnny Gargano, and which they do sort of tease again later in the show, which we'll discuss later in the video. But obviously, Finn Balor picking up the win made the most sense here. Guy that had been on the main roster, had been multiple-time NXT World Champion, had just come back to NXT, had gone and just turned heel as well, was the Prince, and just felt a lot more dangerous. The Finn Balor we've kind of got used to seeing into the modern days of WWE as well. So yeah, it ticked all the boxes. It did the right thing for me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, it's a solid opening match. Like I said, just the offense was like pleasantly surprised, I suppose, is a good thing. But yeah, otherwise, then the fact that Balor is using the 1916 as a finishing move at this point as well is good to see, because it's almost like he's trying to reinvent himself on his return to NXT as well.
Absolutely, indeed. This match went for 13 minutes and 50 seconds. And just to get Dave Beltzer's rating for this, he's gone for 3.25 star rating. Would you agree with that as a star rating?
I wrote down the same thing, 3.25 star. I was like, that makes me so happy that me and Dave are on the same wavelength.
I like it. I wrote down a 3-star rating for me for this match. I thought it was a solid opener. I quite enjoyed it personally. And yeah, this was a good one. This was Finn Balor versus Ilja Dragunov. Moving on in the meantime, then we then move on to a section with Kathy Kelly. She's talking to the two finalists of the Dusty Tag Team Classic in 2020, and it was breaking news that the winners would face the Tag Team Champions at TakeOver Portland, who I believe were the Undisputed Era at the time. It was, of course, the grizzled young veterans and the Cruiserweights, of course, and pretty much the whole point of the promo was the grizzled young veterans to just be themselves on the mic, which was usually obnoxious, and then for Matt Riddle to get Pete Dunne to use a joke which was to do with getting high, of course. If I could be blunt, stoner references, exactly. And obviously, just for those keeping score at home, the Cruiserweights did win the Dusty Cup, and they would also go on to win the Tag Team Championships as well.
Stupid booking. It still annoys me. It was funny, but it still annoys me to this day how poorly GYV were used in NXT. Like they dominated NXT UK tag team division, and then I just don't know how you get that tag team wrong. Zach Gibson is just a natural heel, but I digress. We move on.
No, I 100% agree. I'm shocked that they never had hit the big times of WWE, and it should have been one of those that was being on WrestleManias and everything, but it just never materialized, especially when you as well have a tag team of, I mean, two very good talkers, because actually I never wasn't really fully aware of James Drake's mic ability until leaving WWE, but he is just as good as what Zach Gibson can give as well, and Zach Gibson has natural heat when he talks as well, so I'm shocked that it didn't go a lot further than what they actually did, but unfortunately it just wasn't meant to be. Hopefully for them they have a better run with what they're doing now. But we can move on in the meantime to the NXT Cruiserweight Championship, and my wordy, this fatal four-way was a fun one. Angel Garza, the champion, defending against Isaiah Swerve Scott, whose house, Travis Banks, and Jordan Devlin. And of course, John Devlin, better known as JD McDonough today. This one was a barn burner, to be fair. Some really fun spots in this one. Jordan Devlin is backdropped over the top rope from Swerve, but then he holds onto the rope. He also lands on top of Travis Banks, who's sort of kneeled down, is crouching on the apron. So he can actually then use that as to pull himself back into the ring and land a tornado DDT on Swerve. I thought that was a really fun spot. Garza then has Devlin in his arms as well. Banks jumps up onto Garza into a powerbomb position. Swerve then lands a double foot stomp from the top rope, and also that leads then to sort of like a drop where obviously Garza can do a pinfall attempt on Devlin. Devlin goes for the devil inside, but Banks reverses it into a Canadian destroyer, and I tell you what, Devlin looked destroyed. Devlin goes for a double Spanish fly off the top rope, but he kind of slips off the top rope, which on the Swerve and onto Garza. Banks then hits the Kiwi Crusher, but JD kicks out. Banks is then in a doomsday position, and Garza hits a drop kick from the top rope onto Banks, who lands a poison run on Swerve. Again, another brutal looking move. Great combinational moves here in this match. But Garza then hits his wing clipper for a 2 on Swerve as JD breaks it up. JD hits the devil inside on Swerve and gets what in my time, I remember watching this, was a shock victory, becoming the new Cruiserweight champion. This one was spectacular, to say the very least, for 4 wrestlers that felt like it was just thrown together.
Yeah, I mean, dude, this was just pure chaos, pure fun. Every single guy had their opportunity to shine. You've gone over most of the important spots, like you said. That the double Spanish fly, I think Devlin slips off the turnbuckle and almost turns it into a double suplex, but do you know what I mean? He's lucky he doesn't walk away injured, but it still works. It's still, like, for what they did pull off, it was still good. But that honestly, that Devlin side to that Canadian destroyer, oh my god, absolutely phenomenal. And even the Travis Banks, Travis Banks getting the spot where he's got one across the midsection, the other one like in a powerbomb position, and obviously Swerve hits the stop. Just honestly a great showcase for Cruiserweight wrestling. And dude, again, same as me, I was very shocked that Devlin picked up the win here. I honestly thought that, you know, Swerve would have maybe picked this up, or Garza would have retained. Like, Devlin was my outside favorite for this match originally, like in 2020, but obviously he then cuts a promo afterwards, and he's very passionate about, like, the promo he cut is very, like, if there's a guy that isn't more in love with being a sports entertainer, that's this guy, because everything he says is sports entertainer, not pro wrestler, sports entertainer. It's like, do you know what I mean? He's trying to make a name for himself. He's trying to be that next guy. And dude, like, 4 years later, he's still got a massive head, but do you know what I mean? He's still like a fantastic wrestler as well. And like, I'm telling you now, they could easily bring the Cruiserweight division back, and it would be one of the best divisions on TV.
It certainly would, and obviously with matches like this, I'm all for it. I mean, me and you are both big fans of Cruiserweight wrestling, so I'd love to see it make a return at some point to WWE, whether it's across Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, kind of like we're done with the Women's Tag Team Championships. Would you be a fan of that?
Yeah, man, absolutely. It gives an opportunity to, like, even on, like, essentially, if they're going to do stuff like dark matches, or they're doing stuff for, essentially, I think the Speed Championship should be the Cruiserweight Championship at this point. Like, the Speed Championship is pointless. 3-minute matches is just, I've got no interest in that. And I think if you bring back the Cruiserweight division, put it in its place, even just like I said, give it a special location. Like I said, put it on NXT, it will probably get more TV time. But dude, if they can bring it to Raw and SmackDown occasionally, even on a pay-per-view every once in a while, like, if they can build some decent stories out of it, you are surely going to have some of the best wrestling matches of the year in that division.
Certainly, indeed, yeah, absolutely. I would love to see that happen. I mean, Jordan Devlin was a fun NXT Cruiserweight champion as well. And obviously, he was a bit unlucky because the pandemic hit, so they had to do a whole like rebrand of like new champion. And of course, when he was able to come back over, he could have the match with Santos Escobar as well. So, yeah, fun memories, I suppose, when it comes to the Cruiserweight division at that point in NXT. But this one was a great Fatal 4-Way match. I really enjoyed it. My favorite spot, like you said, the four of them together when Swerve actually does that double stump off the top when I think Banks is in the powerbomb position with Garza and Devlin as well was just absolutely exceptional. What would be your star rating for this match?
Dude, 4.25. I think the only thing that this match was really lacking was a story beat, really, because essentially this is, for me, was just four guys thrown into a wrestling match and had a killer match. And like I said, the story beat, I think, was just the one thing missing, but otherwise it was great.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone for a 4-star rating. I thought it was absolutely exceptional, and like you say, I think the story element is the thing that can make this stronger. Like you say, this is literally four guys in the ring, show us good pro wrestling. That's pretty much what this is. But I tell you what, they do not disappoint, and it still feels like a shock winner with Jordan Devlin winning that championship, even watching it now. But certainly, this is a match you should make sure to go out of your way to see.
Yeah, agreed, man. Like I said, it's one of the this whole. To be fair, this whole card is great, and you should go back and watch the whole thing. To be fair, you're gonna get something for everything on this show with every match on it.
Certainly, indeed. And this match going 12 minutes and 6 seconds as well. But we move on in the meantime then to what will be our next match. And I'll tell you what, I know you're excited for this.
What did Dave give it, by the way? What did Dave give that match?
Not give Dave's rating. No, apologies for that one. What he's given us a 3.5-star rating for the Cruiserweight Championship match.
Criminal.
Yeah, a little bit underrated if you ask me. Maybe missing the story element for him as well. But we won't delay you any further. This is the reason you wanted to do this show. The whole reason.
100%.
You love your tag team wrestling, DIY Moustache Mountain. Now, I must admit, the video package isn't much to go by. It's the heart versus the soul of the two, promotions, if you will, the two brands, of course, NXT and NXT UK. And it's all about setting their legacy. But I'm going to let you give us the goods because I know you're a big fan of this tag team match. Give us everything about DIY versus Moustache Mountain.
I won't lie, I don't have many notes from this because I was in awe of watching it so much, but I will try to give you my best. If I miss anything, by all means jump in. But dude, even just to start off, the entrance music alone, Moustache Mountain's music is great. DIY's old music is great. Obviously, this is DIY getting back together for the very first time as well. And then you start off in that one-upsmanship when it's kind of like everything is mat-based wrestling. It's reversal after reversal after reversal. Then we get essentially Ciampa trying to mock Trent with his mustache. Yeah. Trent obviously has the more fabulous mustache. Just for Ciampa then to be like, yeah, but I've got the body. And it's kind of like, yeah, okay, you win that one. And like the crowd are just eating it up, man, because it's just such. Do you know what I mean? This is two baby faces just going out there to have a thoroughly entertaining match. And then I think a little while later, we get the same thing with Tyler Bate. He comes in. He can do the mustache, but he also has a killer body to compete with Ciampa. And then we get a good old-fashioned test of strength, something that I always long for in certain wrestling matches. Like, it seems to be that this is the only kind of dynamic where you have these two babyface tag teams go against each other, that this really works. And, like, just watching Ciampa trying to mock Tyler because of his height, and then, like I said, the great counters they do. Obviously, Ciampa's just come back after his neck surgery, and like there's a point where they're both on the mat flat and the referee starts counting, and they both figure themselves into an arch to get out of it. Oh, okay, I got mad feedback then on my part, but never mind. But then dude, then there's obviously the one point where Ciampa just turns this match, and he goes from being nicey to just being a complete wrestling match, and Ciampa just turns into a complete just animal and goes back to the kind of like the Ciampa we know from when he was NXT champion. He starts hitting hard, he starts hitting fast, and these guys, dude, I like I said, I haven't made many notes. Like, I only have a few things. Like, obviously, Trent has some nasty chops on him, which can compare with Walter at this point, because his chops were just mean. The meet in the middle reversal where they both go to do it, and both Moustache Mountain, hands up, punch him in the jaw. the spot alone and the crowd going wild for it. The burning hammer for the 2 is fantastic as well. And then there's a spot just afterwards. I think that's when there's a spot where Tyler's going to go off the top rope. Trent has Ciampa tied down. Ciampa pulls Trent on top. Tyler hits Trent without knowing. He gets up. The ref starts counting for the 2, and the way Tyler turns around in that split second to break the pinfall is beautifully timed. It's just amazing. Then after that, the meet in the middle for the win, dude. Like I can't describe this match good enough to justify how good this match is for me. Like, this is just all the bells and the whistles. The crowd absolutely eat it up. It's full of high spots. It's full of near falls. It's full of greatness. The crowd love it. It's just wonderful, man.
It feels like it's a generational tag team match. It feels like it's got a bit of flavor for everybody. I love, like you said, the old school breakdown at the start of the match where how they, it's sort of a big strong boy, Tyler Bate going in for that sort of, the test of strength. I also love the idea as well of the test of the bodies, but McGuinness as well. This is why I love him so much on commentary. We see Ciampa doing it, and he's like, that's Jesse Ventura, the way he does that, and obviously compares then Trent Seven to Adrian Adonis. I just thought, it's just great throwbacks, and just fits the theme, the time period, everything about it's really, really good. And like you say, when the match actually breaks down, you start getting those near falls and those so many reversals in the match as well. It's just great fun. I mean, there was a moment with Johnny Gargano and Tyler Bate. They were doing so many reversals in quick succession. You can't write it down. You cannot justify.
Even commentary can't catch up.
No, you can't do it to give it good. But obviously, I know one of those leads to so many of those moments where eventually Tyler can land his Tyler Driver 97, which leads for a 2 count. But like you say, those big moments afterwards as well, like you said, the Burning Hammer's fantastic. I love as well the reversal of the Tyler Bates move off the top rope, like you said, with that near fall there. Just absolutely superb. And just when the 2 teams stand up as well, just everyone just adulation just before they're going for that final bit before DIY win the match. Yeah. Super, really good tag team match. I'm going to be honest with you. You've always hyped how great this tag team match is. I obviously don't remember how good it was, because I remember going, it was a good match from what I remember, but I didn't have the same level. Let me join you up there now where you are. And I think we're going to be on a very high.
The air is fresh up here.
It is very fresh up here. And I think the star ratings are going to feel good as well, because we're close to them stars now.
Dude, I'm gonna break my star system here. I'm going 7 stars. I think, like I said, this is one of the greatest tag team matches I've ever seen, and it is like, we've just started a whole Mount Rushmore series. If we ever do a Mount Rushmore of tag team matches, dude, this is on my Mount Rushmore. Dude, I just can't get enough of it. Like I said, the crowd eat up. And the fact that, again, that dynamic of babyface versus babyface, and the crowd are into it. There isn't meant to be a bad guy in this, man. It's just meant to be essentially who is the better tag team across the better brand. And at the end of it, when they stand tall in the ring, all 4 of them together, man, I'm honestly gutted that Trent Seven is no longer in WWE, because Moustache Mountain is another tag team I would just love to stay together, because I know obviously Tyler's now out injured, but if there was an opportunity we could get them 2 back together and have them as a tag team, man, they would be fantastic.
I'd love to see them back together as a team. I'm sure Triple H isn't watching, but if he is, if Trent becomes available again, please bring him back. That would be great to see them back, especially now that the new Catch Republic are kind of probably not going to be a thing moving forward unless Tyler Bate returns as a heel, which I can't personally see. But all I can say is move over Dave Meltzer on the Tokyo Dome. We've got NXT from the Toyota Center here throwing out 7 stars. Yeah, right. I absolutely love that, and damn right as well, broken the star system. That's the highest rating for any match you've ever given, which is great to see. I'm going to disappoint you then, because the air might be fresh, but I mean, goodness, I'm not as high as you, I'm afraid, on this one. I've gone for a 4 1/4. I think that this one is a superb.
It's a story. It's lacking a story, Matt. It's essentially lacking a story, though.
But I tell you what, though, they make a story in this match, and it really does feel heart versus soul, because you can see neither team wants to give this up. They want to give everything. It really felt like watching it. It could go either way as well. And I tell you what, they get a good dose of time as well. 22 minutes, 55 seconds. It's a very good wrestling match. It's a very strong tag team match as well. Looking at Dave Meltzer's ratings, it doesn't look as higher anywhere, man. Like, there isn't a point where you're like, okay, we need to move to the next point in the match now. Like, they're always trying to do something new to one up each other. And like I said, the first 6-7 minutes where they're just doing that
sportsmanship where they're just trying to one up each other, and then all of a sudden the instant switch to it being a wrestling match is just phenomenal.
Certainly is indeed there, and obviously Dave Musters give this a 4-star rating as well, so he's also thought very highly of this one also. 3 stars too little, Dave. What are you doing? Great stuff though. But fantastic team match.
Yeah, like I said, it's just like I said, I've obviously banged on about it for years, man. And like I said, I'm glad we finally got to review it now, because like everyone could just see how much of a loony I am for tag team wrestling.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, if you've watched this one along with NXT, you'll know just what he's on about. And to be fair, I'm with him as well. It's a fantastic match. We get multiple shots of wrestlers throughout the show. Obviously, like Keith Lee's in the audience with Mia Yim. We see like Mercedes Martinez after the Mae Young Classic being in the crowd as well. And then we actually get one where we've seen Dakota Kai standing there, and she gets attacked by Tegan Nox behind her. You start to think, why is this match not on here? Because obviously the famous War Games turn from Kai onto Nox. They see the spear through the barricade thing where Nox wants to get revenge on Kai for that here. And then eventually security comes out, breaks up between them. They do end up having a match on NXT. And of course, they do eventually have a match on Portland. I remember the Portland one more than I remember the NXT match, which of course, that's when Dakota Kai got the backup of Raquel Gonzalez, who would later be known as Raquel Rodriguez. Fun times. We move on in the meantime though to the NXT Women's Championship. We've got Rhea Ripley versus Toni Storm. Little video package comes with this as well. Memories like these Rhea won't forget, just like winning the NXT Championship. She's having a high time at the moment being the champion. Actually, fun little fact, she won that championship from Shayna Baszler on my birthday in 2019. Not that anybody cares. Toni was proud of Rhea, but she says, do you remember that time that I beat you? Oh, and do you also remember that time that I beat you twice? I think I can do it again. I challenge you to put that title on the line at Worlds Collide, which of course Rhea does accept. Your thoughts of the video package?
The biggest problem with this match, because I think the video package gives away the result. The fact that they emphasize on the point that Toni Storm, she bangs on about beating Rhea, and then obviously they show her standing tall on the NXT prior to the pay-per-view, holding the title up. Like I said, going back and watching this on a rewind without remembering the result, you're going in, that video package completely ruins it for you. That's actually my gripe with this match, is like is that the whole video package.
Fair enough, and I can understand that as well, because I mean, I can sort of remember back at this period as well. Toni Storm would go on to become a very regular member of the NXT women's roster, but at the time she was more involved with NXT UK, obviously, with it being Worlds Collide, and she'd just lost the championship as well to Kaylee Ray not long before, and I think that she'd had some time off TV, and sort of she'd suffered a little bit after that loss in a polite way, and it felt like that when she came in here, this felt like this was the right match at the wrong time, in my personal opinion, and I felt that kind of reflected it when you watch the match as well, because the crowd are a bit flat for it, which is strange because Rhea was so over at that time. Toni Storm was always a fan favorite with the Tony Time stuff at this point also, so it's a bit strange to think that on this show, which is only a 2.5 hour show, the crowd just do seem a bit flat, which is a shame. But going into a bit of detail of the match very quickly, early doors into this match, Rhea looks like she's injured her neck, to be fair. There's a German suplex with Rhea going into the corner buckle. I'm not sure if it's the bottom or the middle buckle she hits, but Rhea does seem to be some sort of big reaction, I think, from Rhea Ripley. She goes to the floor for a couple of minutes to try and actually recover. Toni then makes things better for that neck, landing a DDT, hitting a 2 count. The both of them, Rhea gets back into it, kind of though with them both sort of hitting each other. Both end up attempting their finishing moves, which get countered. But eventually, Toni is the one that makes the big mistake. She goes for a frog splash off the top rope. Nigel McGuinness making reference that Toni Storm doesn't often go to the top rope, so that's a nice little nugget that's thrown in there for you as well. Rhea hits the riptide and picks up the 1, 2, 3 in a match that only goes 10 minutes and 6 seconds long. It's the shortest on the main show.
Yeah, I think that this suffers from, like, well, I'll skip this. My other problem with the show was actually the layout of the match card, because I think this obviously suffers going on after that tag team match. I think where you had Balor and Ilja open, you could have easily put either the tag team match or the a cruiserweight match in that first spot, and you could have essentially broken it down a bit more, maybe laid it out a different way. And I think that's the other reason why this match kind of is a bit flat with the crowd. Otherwise, I think it's actually an okay match. I think it's really good. It's nice to see Toni Storm in color, honestly. Like, you know what I mean? I'm used to her just being in black and white red lipstick recently, but the fact that she's wearing like just multiple layers of colors and like she's wearing red, like in her gear, is just nice to see. Hey, a baby Rhea again. It's nice to see where she's come from and how much she's changed as well in terms of ring style, presentation, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, like I said, it's not a bad match. I just think it suffers from card placement. I enjoyed it, but again, like I said, the result is predictable from the video package to start with.
I think the match is solid enough. I think my main issue is that I think that these two could have told a better story had the match gone a bit longer. I think it's a bit of a short match, but whether that spot early in the match affects the rest of it, I mean, I can't really tell, really, to be honest, of how legit. I mean, Rhea seemed fine after a few minutes, but obviously, as they say, it's a work. She sold it pretty darn well for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it's just a shame. Like, it maybe if they'd done a better job with maybe the build as well, because like you said, that video package, do you know that Toni's losing? And obviously, like you said, that coming into NXT at this point, and she kind of is like a bit of a tweener as well. It's not like she's exactly the most hated person on the roster, and you're having to put her up against Rhea Ripley just maybe doesn't fit as well. Like, this is a match that they probably could have done 3 months later at, like, do you know what I mean, Stand and Deliver or something, but maybe it is just a case of bad timing, unfortunately.
Maybe could be the case. Like you say, shorter build as well doesn't always help on these sorts of things, but certainly a good match. And I agree with you, by the way. It's good to see that where they are now from where they were then. I always really enjoyed Motley Crue, Toni Storm back in the day, but obviously her timeless stuff is a lot of fun to watch in AEW now. Rhea Ripley as well, from where she was then to where she is now. I mean, you can see so many different levels that she's gone up, and she was really good then. I think that's the scary part, how good she was then to how good she is now. It just goes to show that the sky is the limit when it comes to Rhea Ripley, of how far she wants to take this, and same for Toni as well. I think both have really come into their own. But what would be your star rating for this one?
I'll give it a 2 3/4. Like I said, I didn't think it was a bad match. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, apart from everything we've already discussed, which is probably the reason why it suffers.
I actually share this one with you, 2 3/4 as well. Although it's my lowest rated, I still think it's a bad rating for the match. I've just quickly gone out to see Dave Meltzer's, and he has gone for a 2 1/4 star rating, so a little bit less than us. Right, we'll move on in the meantime. Backstage, we did mention there will be something building with Finn Balor and Johnny Gargano. Gargano is going to be talking backstage in an interview, but is attacked by Balor. A number of superstars jump in to try and pull Balor and Gargano apart from one another. Tyler Bate being the first one to get in between Finn Balor. And Balor, I believe, challenges Tyler Bate to a match, which I imagine Finn Balor would have won at that point, but that certainly would be a fun one to go back and watch.
Yeah, I don't actually. For some reason, my brain thought that you went to Finn Balor, Johnny Gargano. I don't know if I can ever remember those. I was going to say, I can't remember those two ever actually. Tyler Bate and Finn Balor. That'd be an interesting match, actually. I think I'd really like to see that. I'd have to check that out now and see if they actually have had a match.
That would have been probably on a 2-hour NXT, probably on the USA Network.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Very weird to see in the comments.
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking out for those indeed. But I'd say that moves us over nicely then to the main event of this show, which is, of course, is an 8-man tag team match. Who is the most dominant faction, the Undisputed Era or Imperium? This one here has a video package with it as well. Undisputed Era attacking Imperium at the end of NXT TakeOver UK Blackpool 2. The UE are the most dominant force in all of WWE, not just NXT. It's the era of Undisputed. But of course, Imperium will have their say as well. Imperium means absolute power. This is the era of Imperium. The UE humiliated us in our own ring. There will be no glory. Imperium cost, of course, the Undisputed Era in the Dusty Classic as well. And we see the two factions brawl as the video ends. For me, I actually thought this was the best well-built match on the card, even though it actually still has a limited build as well. It started in January, it finishes in January, but I tell you what, man, does it seem quite exciting to see Undisputed Era versus Imperium again.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it was the only story, like, on the whole show that kind of, like, they even sort of went above and beyond, because obviously they had the UE go all the way to the UK to attack Imperium, and like, it was the only thing that kind of transcended the actual brand was this storyline. And yeah, Dude, same as you, going like watching it back and having to remember that it's Walter, Marcel Bartel, and Fabian Eichner, which again is jarring in itself. Like, Walter is the easiest one to remember, but Marcel, for the longest time, I could never remember what Ludwig Kaiser's original name was, and then I saw, oh, it's Marcel Bartel, and now I can't get it out of my head anymore. And then obviously Fabian Eichner, who is now currently Giovanni Vinci. So that was the only thing really, was relearning their names for 20 minutes.
All I was saying is expect some mistakes from me in the upcoming few minutes. That's all I can say. It's not easy with the names, but we'll do our best. But obviously, this match has a bit of an unfortunate turn very early doors. What's supposed to be an 8-man tag turns into a 4-on-3 handicap match very quickly. Alexander Wolf obviously taking a shot to the chin from Bobby Fish and gets checked over and obviously doesn't return. But thankfully, he does end up being okay afterwards. But very unfortunate start to the match. I guess all the game plan and all the plans they do have going to this have to be changed on the fly.
Dude, to be fair, I give them a lot more props for it, because although it is unfortunate, like, I completely forgot the result of this match as well. So I actually thought, hang on a minute. If it's 4-on-3, because for some reason my brain thought, Yui wins this. That kind of helps the result, really, kind of like, they're a man down, that's how they can deliver it. But the fact that they managed to turn it around and absolutely kill this match, like, it's just unreal. Like I said, the props to the guys that were in there to carry on and just still have a killer match that closes the show. Like, unfortunately, accidents do happen, but if you're able to, do you know what I mean, move on and move above that and try and still deliver a fantastic product, and these guys absolutely knocked it out of the park.
They sure did. The 7 that were left really made an absolute spectacle, and it played into the story of the match because it felt like Undisputed Era were doing divide and conquer. They were like, they've taken out Alexander Wolf. Next target was Walter, almost said Gunter. Obviously, and there was a fun moment where Kyle O'Reilly was just mocking Walter before he ended up getting himself the hot tag. He ends up clean housing, taking everybody out, followed by a double German suplex with both Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong being amongst that. Poor Roderick Strong, he looked like he took the worst of that one. But I like as well, and this again, I'm going to mention Nigel again, it's described one of the chops from Walter as going into oncoming traffic. That's just how powerful it is to be hit by one of those chops from Walter. But the UE have had enough of it. They go 3-on-1 to try and take him out and to try and put him through a table, but of course Walter manages to overcome the 3 of them. It's Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish and Roderick Strong. He looks to do a powerbomb on Roderick Strong through the table, but it's stopped by the UE, and eventually Walter is on one table with Kyle O'Reilly. Looks like he's going to try and do some damage on him, but instead Roderick Strong makes a save and hits the Olympic Slam through the other table. What an awesome spot that was.
Oh, dude, yeah. I mean, it's like nostalgic as it is, and it's like, dude, it's not very often, like, obviously this is Walter in his like previous physical presentation, and even when the UE have got him outnumbered 4-1, it still feels like the UE are outnumbered. Do you know what I mean? Like, at no point did I ever feel that Walter was outnumbered when it comes to being like a handicap match. But just going on to that Olympic, like, it's nice to see them, like, just the way that Walter was able to, like, again, because of his size and his stature and the fact that it takes 4 guys to beat him down, it almost makes, like I said, it just adds that little bit more to the match where, like, UE have to try that a little bit harder. And like I said, then you get them doing stuff like Roddy putting him through the table with an Olympic Slam. It's like they're trying to do everything they can to essentially try and take out the biggest dog in the yard in Walter, and then try and finish off the other 2.
Certainly was. Yeah, it was awesome to see. And obviously this leads it to being 4-on-2 at this point. Obviously it's Marcel Bartel and Fabian Eichner. Easy for me to remember these names, just about. But I mean, Eichner went into a level of his own. We had a Shawn Michaels and Shelton Benjamin moment where he does a springboard going into the ring, goes straight into a super kick from Adam Cole, baby. And obviously then he does one of his moves that is always spectacular every time I see it, where he does a springboard to one top rope, jumps to the next top rope at a 90-degree angle, and then hits a moonsault. Always fantastically done from Fabian.
Yeah, agreed, man. I mean, I don't know if we've got past but the part where Bartel throws one of the guys into Eichner and he lifts him up and does a brainbuster from a standing position. Just phenomenal. The way he catches him upside down, lifts him, drops him for the brainbuster. Like, dude, just such an amazing spot. Like, dude, Fabian Eichner is like secretly like one of the best wrestlers, man. Like, he's great.
He's hugely underrated. He's not booked to how good he actually is, because when you do see him and he's allowed to, I suppose, be let off the leash, the dude is unreal. He's a fantastic wrestler. So I'd like to see him have a better run as Giovanni Vinci on SmackDown moving forward. But yeah, no, certainly has some great moments here. But hey, you can only keep Walter down for too long. He gets back into the match. He lands a powerbomb and a splash from the top rope onto Roddy Strong. Colo follows it up with his running knee, of course, which stops a pinfall attempt onto Roddy. But of course, a save is made on Walter at the count of 2. Everybody stands together. Of course, we have Imperium one side, we have Undisputed Era the other side. They all stand together, and then of course they get together and they battle. It's superb to watch. We see a stacked double sleeper as well, involving Walter, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. This is followed by the No Man's Land double team maneuver from the tag team champions. At this point, then, there's high flying spots all to the outside, doing spectacular dives. Roddy doing one to the floor, and then Fabian Eichner then sort of running, jumping to the top rope, doing a frog splash like maneuver to the floor. This takes out absolutely everybody, and it leaves Walter and Bobby Fish as the last 2 people in the ring. Bobby Fish attempts a moonsault, but of course misses. This is when Gunther then can run, hits the running drop kick, and then Bobby goes crashing into the corner. Picked up then, and then of course it lands a power bomb, and Walter just lays on top of him in a cradled pin as well. There's no way Bobby Fish can kick out. It's 1, 2, 3, and your victors of the match is the 3 members of Imperium. Wow, what a match is what I'm going to say with this one.
Yeah, I mean, like I said at the start, the fact that they suffer the loss of Eichner at the beginning, but then managed to absolutely turn it around, and they get the win out of it. On a repeat watching of it, like now, like obviously 4 years later, fresh viewing, it's such a good thing to see. Like, if Undisputed Era had won, it has seemed like, oh yeah, well, that's expected in the 4-3 handicap position. But seeing Imperium pick up the win, and the fact that they're doing the right thing at building Walter, because obviously this isn't long after. I believe because this is just after 2019 Survivor Series, where Walter is part of the Survivor Series team, and he's the first guy eliminated, isn't he, in the men's 5-on-5 match? And it's kind of like they're having to rebuild whatever Vince McMahon done to him on the main roster, and like, dude, they did the right thing here and having him pick up the win for.
Yeah, I thought so as well. They built him as an absolute monster once again after a bit of a strange booking decision for Survivor Series 2019. Obviously, it's great also for NXT versus NXT UK, because at that point, the only NXT UK on the main show was Jordan Devlin. Otherwise, it would have been 4-1 to NXT. So it's good that it balances it out. And if you look then with the dark match, which of course is Kaylee Ray beating Mia Yim, that actually means it's 3-3. It's an even playing field at the end of Worlds Collide. So yeah, job well done all round.
Yeah, that's just a solid show. I reiterate on my point I made at the start of the show. This is like one of my top 3 NXT pay-per-views. Like, there's nothing, like, I don't find anything wrong with the show in terms of the wrestling. Like I said, my 2 gripes are the Toni Storm Rhea Ripley video package that, like I said, on a repeat viewing just gives away the result if you didn't already know it. And then just the match order, because I think, like I said, some of the matches suffered being like, so like in the wrong positions. Like, I think if you'd have spaced them out or laid it out a bit better, some of the, like, for instance, the Rhea Ripley Toni Storm match just wouldn't have suffered as badly. So, I mean, quickly before we go on to that, what would be your star rating for this match that we've got here? I gave this 4.5. I thought this was fantastic. It was my second best match of the night, and like, obviously that Cruiserweight match was great. But I thought, like, the story, like even the unlucky story of Wolf getting injured and the 3 guys having to, like, overcome the handicapped loss, I just thought was great. And like the way, and the fact that, like you said, it's the best built story on the card. Just having, like, the Undisputed Era come out again, like, dude, that, like, just so many memories coming back with this. I enjoyed this, like, way too much than I probably should have. Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic match. I've gone for 4.5 as well. I think it's excellent. I think the fact they've had to, that's great then.
I think as well, when you look at it and say like that they had to sort of probably redo some spots and replan this match out on the fly and still come out with that masterpiece. I think it's an exceptional piece of work. I think that for me, it was a surprise result of Imperium winning. And yeah, I mean, for me, I just was watching this thinking, I want to see this in War Games. I want to see this in every sort of format you can do, Survivor Series style match. Give it to me again. Of course, it's not possible, but do you know what? I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was really, really entertained. And just to go through as well what Dave Meltzer's rating was as well, he's given this a 4.25 star rating for this match, which was 29 minutes and 50 seconds, and I can promise you it felt no longer than 15. But let's quickly then go on to this questions. You've mentioned this, you would do a different order of the match card. So what order would you do the matches in if you were to change it around?
I think I'd have opened with DIY versus Moustache Mountain. I'd then followed that up with Balor Dragunov, then the Cruiserweights, and left the last two matches in order. I think that the fact that your opening match is essentially meant to be a really hot match, and for me, the best match of the night is the tag team match. So I think if you have that open, Balor and Dragunov still have a really good match, which doesn't, like, I don't think that would have suffered as much coming in after that. Like, it was a good match, but it didn't. I feel that the crowd would have been a lot more pumped if they'd have had that tag team match first. So I think if you swap that round, put that first, then you have the Cruiserweight next, because it's only like 10-12 minutes. It's not a long match, doesn't draw out as much time. Then you can move into the women's match, and then you move on to that main event.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, like you say, if you for me, if it's just a simple swap of just Balor Dragunov and the DIY Masters Mountain, I completely agree, because obviously, I think you could even argue that it could be. It sounds crazy to say fan burnout when there's only 5 matches on the show, but obviously with such big spots on those couple of matches, plus the tag team match being a long 20-minute match as well. Like, I think that yeah, you could perhaps position things slightly differently, but this show for me is all killer, no filler. I mean, I think this one is it's superb from start to finish. So yeah. I think that this one was a fun one to go back and watch, which leads us then to our usual questions that we do ask at the end of these ones. So what would be, first off, no surprises here, your match of the night?
No, obviously, tag team match, man. It's my greatest match of all time. And at this point of recording, like in everything we've watched so far.
I will go with the Imperium versus Undisputed Era because it's got the highest star rating for me, but it is a very close second to that tag team match is just behind it. And of course, then the Cruiserweight match is not far behind it either. 3 matches on this show, 4 stars or higher from me. But what is your OMG moment of the night?
Dude, the Brainbuster from Fabian Eichner, like, such a great show of strength. Like, I easily could have picked half a dozen things out of that Cruiserweight match, but that, like I said, that Brainbuster, the way he catches him like midair and still lifts him up and drops him, it's just a great show of strength.
It's an awesome spot, to be fair. Yeah, I do agree, but I think the thing we highlighted in the Cruiserweight match with the 4 guys in the same spot, obviously the power slam position, the powerbomb position, and Swerve coming off with the double stomp. Yeah, for me, I was like, whoa, that's awesome. So yeah, I think that's going to be the one that's going to take it for me. Be shocked if we don't agree on this one. Entrance of the night.
Undisputed Era, man. Like, dude, it's been so long since I've seen it, man, and I love it so much.
Do you know what? I have to agree. Look, Kyle O'Reilly as well. Every time with the guitar, with the championship,
it's great.
It's just awesome. But just to be slightly different, I have to give a shout. I really enjoyed watching Moustache Mountain have their entrance. Where they roll in the ring together and then they do the towel. Come on, it's also just to be different. You can have UE, and I will say Moustache Mountain, just so we don't have the same answers, because man, there's 2 great ones there. MVP of the night.
The 7 guys in the main event. I couldn't pick one, so I went with all 7. The fact that they managed to overcome that unfortunate accident and still deliver a great match, they are my MVPs. It's a cheat answer, I know. I could have easily just gone for Walter, but I thought it'd be rude not to at least put all 7 of them in that answer.
It's only cheating if you get caught. I'm going to copy you on this one. It feels appropriate to do so because it takes 2 to the tango. In this case, it took 7 to do that tango. Final rating then for NXT Worlds Collide 2020. Your score out of 10, please.
9 out of 10 for me. Like I said, 3. You nailed it. 3 matches that are 4 stars or above. And 2 other matches. One that's a good match, and they're both good matches. But I think with those, it's almost a perfect pay-per-view for me.
Yeah, I think 9 out of 10 is going to be for this one as well. I remember it being a good show, this one, but I come out with this and I think it's a great show. It was a great time to go and watch this back over. And to be honest, the 2 hours or so flew by watching this. And I do recommend anyone to go out of their way to watch it. But that's pretty much everything for Worlds Collide 2020. Big thank you for that's been watching SCW Rewind. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, share with a friend, subscribe to the channel if you are new here as well. And there is a playlist of SCW Rewinds that you can be checking on your screen in a couple of moments' time. But big thank you to everyone that's watched. Big thanks to NXT as well. And thank you for choosing this show to review.
Yeah, dude, like I said, it's always a pleasure doing these. And like I said, we finally got to review one of my greatest matches of all time. So I'm a happy duckling now. I can go back to my pond and be happy.
Absolutely. Well, make sure to check out then the sign on the screen right now with the playlist for SCW Rewind and go and find your favorite show being reviewed by myself and NXT. Thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you for the next video.